So, good morning everyone. Thank you Architect Galina. So also we thank you all the time committee members who actually made the effort to help us to set up the events of today. So before I start my presentation on sustainability, please allow me to do a big part selling to introduce Lifehack. So who we are, so why Lifehack? So what actually Lifehack provides to the market and actually what we assist to the architects. And also comes to selection criteria that how you choose your profile rights and what kinds of material actually suitable for your projects. So who we are, NS Bristol is actually a steel making company. So we are actually an Australian based company. We are listed in Australia since year 2002. So back to this, we actually have two business entities in Malaysia, where the upstream is actually based in Australia. Then we have our midstream is actually based in Sungai Buloh Kapar, and also we have our downstream in Shah Alam. So how we identify all these upstream, midstream, downstream, so midstream? I don't know. So midstream is actually the one who actually come up with the raw material. They are the one who are doing the cooking technology and also doing the painting into the coins. So they are actually giving out the warranty to the market, and they are actually the technology to protect the steel from corrosion. So once they have the coin ready in coating and color, then they will send it to Lifehack, which is we call it downstream. So what Lifehack do? So Lifehack will actually profile the coins to a metal profile, so that what you see the click profile, the standing seat profile, the pierce switch profile. So that's we call downstream. So that's we call Bristol Lifehack. So as what I mentioned, NS Bristol is actually listed in year 2002 in Australian marketplace. And yet what we actually covers India, we cover Asian company, North South America, and also New Zealand. So NS Bristol project product in year 2012, that's the year where I joined Bristol. We actually joined venture with Nippon Steel. So from there on, from Bristol Steel Malaysia, we actually rebrand ourselves to NS Bristol Malaysia. So NS is actually stand for Nippon Steel. So yes, this is the Kapar. So this is actually our Kapar plant. So we have our brands called Colorbond, Zicala, Trucor, Romor, and Prima. Then in year 2018, right before MCO, we acquired another plant in Sungai Buloh Kapar as well. So that's how we proceed our hot roll to cold roll. So right before that, all our cold roll is actually import from Australia. But yet in year 2018, once we have this plant set up in Sungai Buloh, then we start to produce our own cold roll. Okay. So comes to Lifehack business. So Lifehack business, we have our plant in Shah Alam, and also Kota Kinabalu, and also Kuching. Then we also have our sales service in Penang, Johor Bahru, and also in Chengdu. So we are actually the first roll former established in Malaysia since year 1968. So after we have our Bristol Lifehack set up in Malaysia year 1968, then we are the first roll former we actually introduced steel truss into the market in year 2000. So right before all the steel truss were actually timber truss. And also continue in year 2003, we are the one who introduced the bond deck into the market. And in year 2015, we actually celebrate our 50 years anniversary. So in today, we are actually close to 60 years in Malaysia. So what expertise that Lifehack does, we are actually expertise in industrial and warehouse, and also the commercial building, shopping malls, and also institution, and residential, and followed by public utility and infrastructure, the RT station, the MRT station. And what solution that we have in NS Bristol? So yes, so comes to profile wise, very generous. We actually have 3 spheres. So we have conceal fix. So conceal fix is the profile that you are not going to see and exposed on the surface. So everything is actually concealed. And also we have the traditional pier fix profile. Normally we apply for wall cladding. And also we have our steel decking system and also our lightweight truss system. Okay. Of course, I think I'm not going to go in detail on every profile I have here because believe if I go in very detail, you guys will fall asleep. So to make a very fast quick, we have our ClickLock profile, which is actually our hotkey. So the beauty of this ClickLock profile is actually very high reach and wider pan width. So it's actually a click system where you will not see any screw actually you will not see any screws on the profile surface. So it's actually excellent in water tightness and also control on thermal expansion. So if your guys have any project that you come across you need all these type of profiles, then you feel free to talk to our colleague. We have our booth in front and we also do have some sample in our counter right in front of this hall. Yeah, so we also have our standing seat. So the beauty of this standing seat is that it can do wonders. It can do anything. It can do temper, it can do dog, it can do whatever curve shapes. Okay, so I'll go very quick. So we have our zip bags. The beauty of this zip bag is actually can go with 1 degree roof because very high risk. So when it comes to metal profiles, that how we did so means that whether what type of profile suit what type of project. First is actually by your design slope. So let's say example that the highest width you go, it can go more flat. Why? Because like you can see the highest width, you see the whole entire shape it actually looks like a gutter. So we actually call this as a gutter. It's a temporary gutter where she will actually channel the water, the rainwater, to the gutter. So the higher risk we have, then it can channel the water much more faster, so it can go more pitch roof, more lower pitch roof. Okay, then we also have our S-wedge and also trim bags, spandex, and so on. Okay, so we can check out this later if you feel interested or you come to with any project support on what kind of design or what kind of profile that's unique for your projects. Okay, so let's start Smart Sim. So we are happy today because we actually have a new Smart Sim profile. And our first project for this Smart Sim project is actually in Batu Kawan. So if you come across Batu Kawan, then you will come to realize this warehouse called PPP Warehouse and also Plexus. So this is the two project or pioneer project that we are actually using this Smart Sim. So what's so beauty about this Smart Sim? So let's start Smart Sim. So you can have your brochure in all your goodies. You will see this in your goodies. So let's start Smart Sim standing sim proof system. It's actually a standing sim profile. So with a high reach of 75 mm and a cover width of 475. So it actually the new technology developed excellent water tightness performance. So it's not only in click, but it also comes in sim. So we have this sample in front of the event hall, and also we have the clips to show that how it ties up the whole entire system to protect your roof from water tightness and weather performance. Okay, so this is the profile looks like. And this is actually a 360 SIMS technology, very high reach profiles, and also custom tightness length. We have the raw accessories, and also clips with movement tab. So this clip is very special because it's actually flexible towards thermal expansion. So no matter how long the roof length is go, you got no worries about thermal expansion and the contraction. Okay, so this is the method how we're going to see this profile. So this technology is actually future improve the tightness performance. So we have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and we actually acquire a special advanced photo toolings to make the sim on site. Okay, so again, this is the profile details. So yes, we have the panel left. So we actually have the machine everything ready in container. So we will shift the whole entire machine to the side. So we make sure that when it comes to your roof, right, no matter how long is the length, right, there's no lapping. And also the clip removal tab, just what I mentioned just now, it actually helps on thermal expansion and the contraction. Then go with the transfer first, actually reduce the wind noise and also improve the anti-deformations performance. So this is under the testing that we will go through for these profiles. And the beauty of this profile is actually FF approved. So if you want to know that what is actually FF about, we can discuss later. Yeah, so this is the technical data. It's actually printed in the brochures that you can have all these details in your brochures. And yes, now we come to materials. So in MS Bristol, we offer 4 types of materials. We have ColourBond, we have Zinc-Color, we have Wormol, and we have TrueCore. So ColourBond is actually the metal sheets come in colors, and Zinc-Color is actually come in bare finish. Then Wormol is actually come in textures finish, and while TrueCore is actually for trusses. So actually TrueCore and Zinc-Color are actually the same. It's just that TrueCore come in blue color just to differentiate. TrueCore is actually applied for trusses. Okay, whereas ColourBond, Zinc-Color, Wormol is more for roofing and walling. And yet, MS Bristol, all our products are actually certified to CIRIP, and our company is also certified to ISO 14000 environments and 9001 document. So our products not only certified to CIRIP, we are also certified ourselves to an Australian standard, which will come from Australian-based company, and also the New Zealand standard 2728. And we also comply to CIDB Act 520 PPS, CJ Prarakuna from our government standard, and also all our products are attributed to CIRIP Eco Label and also Singapore Green Building Product Certificate. So it comes to product, yes, we have Zinc-Color. Zinc-Color is a red bare finish, and also we have ColourBond. So we have plenty of range of ColourBond. So you can name it. So ColourBond and ColourBond Ultra. So ColourBond Ultra is actually higher coating that actually suitable for most aggressive environment like seaside. Then we have also a ColourBond Spectrum mechanism. They are more on metallic finish. Then we also have our ColourBond Matte. So why this matte is important? Because it's actually low gloss. So if you, let's say you come with some designs, the low building surrounded by all those high rise, probably will need this matte finish because it will reduce the glare to your surrounded building. Then we have Wormol and also TrueCore. So this is the table of the detail of all our products. And this is some of our sample projects. Okay. So MS Bristol what we offers in AZ is actually AZ 150. So we have 55% on aluminium, 43.5% on zinc, and 1.5% on zinc silicon. So let's say you compare AZ and Z275. So Z275 is actually 100% zinc. So you can see the reaction on the left and the right. So there's also a comparison after 20 years MS Bristol materials Zinc-Color compared with the other materials. And also comes to superior correction system. This is the test under 500 hour test, and you can see the colors. So in BlueScope ColourBond, right, we have a very minimum color change. So all the color are actually measured by delta E. So you can see on the, I'm not sure whether it's okay. So from here you can see the difference. So this is actually the exposed panel, and this is the original control panel. So I can say everything in life is actually not forever, include the paint system as well. So we actually foresee that there's a fading, but yet the fading actually controlled by a delta E value. So you can see the fading is actually very minimum compared with the other paint system. So for Bristol ColourBond, the delta E value change is 4.2, where the rest is only 21.8. So of course the delta E value is the lower the better. As comes to our clean ColourBond, we have our pure and flake technology. So this is how it works. So just example, like imagine that our actually paint coated at only 25 micron. So any idea how much is 25 micron? Actually our hair is like 70 to 80 micron. So 25 is actually very little. So why we need to control at 25, not like 35, not 40, not 50? Okay, so imagine, let's say today you have a building, then the building wall was in white color. Then you think that I want to change in yellow, then you put it in yellow. So the next day I think I don't like yellow anymore, I like red. So you paint it in red. So a few months later you say I don't like red, I like blue. So you paint it in blue. So what you imagine is that let's say your wall repaint and repaint and repaint. What will happen to your wall? It will peel, right? Yeah. So the thinner is the better. Okay, so comes to of course the dirt stain resistant, where Malaysia's mentality, I don't think people would like to walk up to the roof, or you even walk up to your own roof to wash your roof to maintain your roof, right? So dirt stain resistant is very important because you need the rainwater to auto wash off the dirt that stain on your roof. And actually continue with the surface temperature reductions. So the cooling the roof it needs, they actually reduce the carbon emissions for your building itself, or the operation carbon. So yeah, this is some of our testing. The actual panel was not only in lab test, so all our material not only we sell from lab, we not only trust 100% on lab, but we do also display our own material into a very supervised environment to ensure that actually long-lasting aesthetics performance. So this is some of the examples photos. And also, of course, you will ask why LISAC? Okay, what's the difference for LISAC profiles compared with the markets? So yes, all our LISAC profiles are actually certified and passed NAPA lab test. So NAPA is actually a lab test in Australia where they actually help us to conduct all those wind update tests. So now you know that there's climate change, there's more and more weather changing, tornado everywhere. So wind update is very important to make sure that whoever who stay under the building, their property and their life is being protected. And also comes to point load pressure test. And because you think that upcoming there is more and more people going to install solar. And when it comes to solar, right, it needs maintenance, it needs an annual maintenance that people have to walk up to the roof and do maintenance. So yes, loading test is also one of the concern now. And also planning installation test. Okay, so we have all these data from NATA and all these are actually printed in our brochure. Okay, so this is some of the table from the test. Yeah, so again, this is actually for LISAC. So LISAC products are all also certified by CIRIC, and LISAC material are actually certified to BS 476 class 4 certificates. And also we comply to CIDB, PPS, and also we are actually the GKR system approval vendor for trusses. So what do we offer? So not just that profiles, not only selling profiles, not only offer you pre-log, that, spend that. It's not that only, but we also provide you the system, the detailing. So this is a sample that this is actually some of the service that you actually can go direct to the website. So from our website that you can have the SketchUp 3D models. So you can actually download the detailing drawing as you want. And also we have the green roof solution that we have a system in our website that will help you to calculate the rainwater downpipe setting calculators. So like how big your gutter need to be, how many downpipes that you need for your buildings. So everything is actually in our website. Yeah, so we also have our digital tools that will come out the whole entire system to actually propose to your building design. Yeah, but this is actually very limited because we cannot put everything like too much into the website. But if you feel that you need more detail, like let's say example, let's say Wendy, I would like to have STC 43, very specified. Then just give us a call. We'll provide you the data, the system. Okay, so we also have these visualization tools where you can actually put the color and profile that you think you want into this system that will come up some visualization for you to imagine that how your buildings will look like. Okay, so this is the system. So when it comes to STC calculation, we will provide the view out as well. We will give you the system numbers, the calculation, and also we support on U value, where this is under UBBL 38A requirement. Yeah, yet we also support you in all those detailing. So example for this project, you can see, yeah, this is the detail for, yeah, this is the detail for this direction. Yeah. And also we have provide the customer with the detail for the joint room here. And also this is the concealed fixed gutter. Okay, we always like to take this project as reference because this project is actually in Penang. Yeah. So we have this concealed fixed gutter in this building. So we will actually help the architects to come out the detail. Yeah, if you feel that you want all this detail, please feel free to talk to us. We will actually email to you or we will send you the detail. But somehow some of the detail here you actually can download direct from our website. Okay, so this is the and so on. Yeah, so we have more and more, but I couldn't share here one by one. So comes to selection criteria. So selection criteria is actually very important. So you have to make sure that not only on material. If you choose the right profile, then you have less hassle, less water leakage risk, and some comes to material. Because you don't want that one day when you bypass the site, then you start to see your building is actually very nice, but suddenly turns from blue to white to zinc color. So comes to selection criteria, we need to make sure that the material that we select is actually high corrosion resistant and also long lasting in color and also have to withstand the test of the time. So what we do is in NS BlueScope, right? All our product we have all these branding tests embedded on the metal decks at the back of the metal deck. So touch wood, if anything's happened to the site, right? When it comes to inspection, right? When we actually check on the material, we should know that this material is actually produced in which date, what time, which batch, or which plant. Okay, so we were able to trace back on the material's performance. Okay, so come to material selections, then don't forget about comes to profile selection. So the profile selection must be able to read update capability, foot traffic capability, so make sure that whoever work on top your roof is actually safe. Rainwater drainage capability, so that depends on what is the slope of your building design. And facility, and also have to be integrated ability to a solar panel example or green roof. Okay, so this is some of the examples. Okay, so this is some of the selection criteria. So before you come to us, maybe I have a project that I want a design, I want you to give me a proposal. So before I give you a proposal properly, I really need to know all these criteria so that I can give you the best solution. Because the location is very important for me to propose whether it's the normal coating or the higher coating. And the design of the building is also very important whether I need to propose, let's say a certain profile can go curve, but certain profile cannot go curve. So let's say your building is in curve shape, then probably your selection is actually very limited. So example, let's say you have a slope at 1 degree, then probably my spread back doesn't work for your building. So I have to go and seek that example. So this is some of the criteria that I need you to give me the information before that I come into a proposal. So how to specify like that? So this is the example, and this is the detail. Okay. So this is some of the project reference, CJ Bio in Terengganu. So the roof is actually clip lock, the wall is actually trim deck, and both we actually ColourBond Ultra. Why Ultra is because this ply is actually very corrosive. The production for the process for the whole entire plant is actually very corrosive. And also we have the project the 12 wave in Penang. I believe everyone knows this. Yeah. And also we have our Hafsin Business Park in Charlotte. And this is the Starbucks Simpang Ampat. So this is also the semi, the residential, the housing. So nowadays we also not only in industrial, but we do also supply to a lot of residential. And also we have our Malaysian High Studies in Malacca. So the beauty for this project is actually very challenging. So during when we come to supply this project, right, so every piece that we deliver to site, we have to do label. So it's something like you bring in a very big piece Lego to site, then you have to follow the label and install piece by piece. Because you see all the templates, right, all actually are in different dimensions. Okay, so then we also have our hospital, UiTM Puncak Alam Hospital, and so on. So we do also supply our smart deck, bomb deck into our KLCC tower and also TRX. Okay, so let me continue my next topic on sustainability. So before I go to sustainability, okay, let me introduce a bit about myself. So I'm Wendy. So I'm the technical solution in BlueScope Lifestyle. So I actually ventured into it. I started my career journey in NS BlueScope years 2012. So when I joined BlueScope, then they straight away joined venture with Muslim. So then we rebrand ourselves to be Muslim. So I started BlueScope in pre-engineering business. Then after that, I ventured myself to midstream. So if you can remember the three pillars, the upstream, midstream, downstream. So I actually started from pre-engineering, then I go into midstream. So now actually I call Desktop as my home, which is downstream. So I've been 30 years in BlueScope. So people ask me like, Wendy, why construction? Why you want to go into construction? And how can you stay in the construction business for so long? So I say, I also know true, but I know that construction is always contribute the more GDP to Malaysia. It's the higher GDP in Malaysia in construction. So I believe if let's say I go into construction, then I can secure my whole entire life that I wish myself have jobs. Okay, so that's me. So what is actually carbon footprint? So why carbon footprint and sustainable construction matters now? So I have few points here. So I will name the points. So if you agree with the points, then you please raise up in the hand. Okay? So point number 1, growing environmental awareness. So you agree? So whoever agreed, please raise your hand. No one agreed? Sustainability, carbon emission is actually growing environment awareness? No? So it's not important? Then I can go down. So how about point 2, long-term cost saving? Okay, good. It's only 1? I only got 4 points. I heard 2 already. So okay, third point. Contribute to healthier and more resilient communities. No? Why? Everyone don't mess our planet. Cannot lah. Okay, the last one. Picture yourself or just to meeting client and stakeholder expectation. No one agree. Oh my god, don't be shy. Okay, so comes to the manufacturing point. Yes, carbon footprint and sustainability consumption is very important. But yet, at this moment, we are still, compared with the other country, we are still quite back. We are not really ahead on this topic. Yeah, but most of the time that why we come to this topic is just like, really, you just need to meet the regulation, not so much of how much we really love the planets are. Yeah, so very sad, right? Okay, so what is actually carbon footprint? So carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gas like carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxides, and so on, and actually generated by our action. So you believe, so this can be from individuals and organizations or even an event. Yeah, so today events with all hundreds over speakers here, we actually generate a lot of carbon emissions. So you can see from the graph, right, it actually shows a very aggressive increase since years 1850 until today. So that's where the manufacturing industry started to boom in 90s. So you can see the graph is very aggressive increase in annual carbon dioxide emission by the world region. Especially you can see like United States, China especially. Okay, so comes to embedding carbons and operation carbon. So comes to building, right, there's numbers data shows that actually building are currently responsible for 39% energy related to carbon emission. So this 38%, so look into the detail, right? 28% is actually for operation emission. Just example like today where we sit into this hall, how much aircon we generate. Okay, how much aircon we use, the lighting, how many lighting a hotel need to generate per day. Then comes to embodying carbon, is actually more on the construction process, like how we extract the materials, how we transport the material, how we send the material to site, and how the installation takes place. And also after the installation, what is the waste? So how you handle the waste? Is it the waste can be recyclable or not recyclable? Okay. So sustainable construction. So of course when we talk about carbon emissions, then you ask, so what is the strategy to counter this? Yeah, so sustainability construction come into the pictures. So energy efficiency measure like renewable energy integrated water efficiency. So when it comes to water efficiency, yes, we can have rainwater harvesting. So then it comes to indoor environment quality, we can highest performance roof system. And also when it comes to durables and maintenance designs, that the building orientations and how to capture the maximum natural light. So to reduce the lighting use, and also to natural light. So it's also that how we can integrate it with energy efficiency, like you can design some solar panel on top of your buildings, and how you specify eco-friendly materials and make sure that you can reduce the waste on site. Not only reduce the waste on site, but also speed up the installations, the construction time. So what aspect of method so can consider in sustainability? So what the steel can play the role in sustainability? So what we talk about sustainability? So look at this graph. So sustainability cradle to grave. So from raw material extractions until that is sent into a manufacturing, we need to check the manufacturing process. Then we need to transport it to a construction site. So from construction site, we also need to see the service lifespan, that how long that this material is going to be in use in your building, how frequent you need to change these materials in your building, how frequent maintenance that you have to do on this building until the end of life of the recycle, until disposal, where after you dismantle the buildings. So what's going to do with the material? So its whole entire life cycle. So not a single metrics do not tell the whole entire story. So it comes to sustainability in built environments, right? Every single metric plays a very, very important role. So the impact of environment through each phase. So example like comes to inspection, manufacturing, transport. Even before transport, the packaging method, how you packing it, what kind of material actually you pack to your material. Is it recyclable? Is it usable? Or just a plastic material that you're going to throw and not recyclable? So there's a lot of concern, and there's a lot of factors that are going to affect on this sustainability of building environment. So come to stage 1, we are talking about manufacturing stage. So as a manufacturer, right, when it comes to sustainability development, so the most important thing is that we need a commitment from the management. Yeah, because all things money spent. So if the management don't say yes, then no, nothing that we really can do. Then of course, continue by the steel making technology, that how R&D or how's the technology improvement that we can do to enhance, to speed up the production, to speed up the manufacturing, and renewable energy conversions. So how many means that whether can you install solar panel to your building, or what is the best way that you can convert to a renewable energy source such as solar, or reduce the carbon footprint. So go continue with the EV vehicle, like whether your forklift, whatever equipment tools that you use in your factory, is it EV or is it rechargeable, or is still go with diesel and petrol. So all these are actually take into concern if let's say come for sustainability development in the manufacturing stage. So not only that, when it comes to construction stage. So let's say for steel, higher strength, lightweight. So that means that less materials you are going to use on site. Just take this chart as an example, that you can see concrete tiles is actually at 44 kg per meter square. When it comes to steel, it's actually 9 to 10 times lesser at 4.9%. So in other words, steel is actually given a lightweight, but yet it actually improved the tensile strength compared with the other material, and also a better transport efficiency. So where I say, so let's say example, you need a 10 truck to transport the concrete and tiles to site, but when it comes to metal roofing, probably from 10 you can cut to just only 1 to 2 trucks. Yeah. So in terms of better transport efficiency, so the lesser transport trips that you have, you actually reduce the carbon footprint. Yes, again, what do I mention that is still right. Everything is actually pre-cut, pre-punched. Even your metal roofing, everything is actually cut to length. So what it means that when we take these things to the site, right, it's actually all pre-cut, pre-punched. We just need to screw, or we just need to bolt and nut. So means we are actually reduced to a very, very minimal wastage on site. So it's also because of the minimal wastage and the speed up means the construction time frame, right? It's actually less interfere to the surrounding area, like noise, less soil compactions, So less landscaping costing, use of water, things like that. Okay, so service lifespan, so comes to after manufacturing stage, after construction stage. Then what is the maximum lifespan? So yeah, the longer the lifespan it is, of course, long-term cost saving because we can enhance it longer. So longer service lifespan, just like what I mentioned, ColourBond, they actually giving you a minimum like 30 years warranty. And also design flexibility, so all our steel can go curve, can go any shapes, just like what I show you the sample of Hans Academy. So better space utilization, we can go better space at like 3 meters, so it can actually reduce a lot of heat. And also zero maintenance, yeah, because with the technology, right, then actually zero maintenance. The rainwater will auto wash out whatever dirt on the roof. So this is actually giving a lot of carbon footprint free because it's actually prolong the material lifespan. So in the long term, it's actually a cost saving. Next goes with better thermal comfort. So metal roofing actually generally reflect more solar radiation than tiles and RC roof. So especially when you choose those light color or the reflective coating. So this means less heat is actually absorbed into the metal roofing. Then you have a cooler roof surface and potentially a cooler interior. Okay, so if let's say the metal roof absorbs lesser heat, means that you have better interior environments. So that's why it comes to better energy efficiency. So imagine, let's say today you have a car, you park under a sunlight, and let's say you have a car where you park under a metal sheet for a car push. So when you start the engine, probably when the car's under the sunlight, you need to means you have to mess up the temperature and it takes longer time to cooler your car. Where let's say your car was parked under a building, then you probably that when you start up the car, you probably just need a temperature of about 20, and it's actually taken faster time to cool down your car. So in the middle way, it's actually save a lot of cost for you. So this is actually how the thermal comfort works. For same goes to end of the life cycle. So actually, metal cladding can be recycled repeatedly without losing its quality. So it can be reborn and reborn again from the old steel become a new steel. So metal roofing and sustainability construction. So comes to this picture. This is actually a house they produce coating in years 80s, 70s. So today we are actually different. So in years 80s, when it comes to all this coating technology are still very old methods that the people have to lift up the whole entire beam and hot it into the hot pot, then lift up and actually dry it, everything. But yet today everything is already go automation. So the technology and the R&D change is actually very fast. And this is how the metal roofing, the profile, which is in years 80s and now. So in back days in 80s, right, you can see the profile production is actually we have already some maximum length. We can never go longer length. But yet today with all the R&D and the innovation, the length we can go as far like the Hershey, 100 over 120 meters the length. Okay, so what is sustainability construction? Is meeting the present needs without compromise the ability for future generation. So to meet the actually sustainability construction, there are actually 3 pillars. First is actually environmental responsibility, economic viability, and also social equity. So how metal roofing contribute to sustainable construction? So there's actually 3 pillars here, 2 I mentioned just now. Long-lasting durability, energy efficiency, and also aesthetic versatility. So you can see on the metal roof here. So not only on carbon emissions, not only on sustainability, but when it comes to metal roofing, that's also very important when we are talking about wind stain. Because now climate change, because of carbon emission, climate change. So your roof have to be very, very stand strong. So wind stain extreme weather is very important. And of course, it also contribute to carbon footprints. And also in conclude, so specified recycle acceptable material is actually important. But yet, as an architect today, you all sit here, or like a villa owner or bungalow owner, we have here. We also don't want to sacrifice because I want sustainability material, then I sacrifice my design. right? So both have to come into together. Both have to gel into together. So the good news is metal cladding is actually able to achieve both. Okay, so metal cladding is actually a sustainability material, yet it also can enlarge your design, your ideas. Okay, so you can see from this picture. So from all these like very high pitch roofing, so at today's that you with metal cladding, you can go with very low pitch. Okay, so now we have all those like modern roof. We call it this modern roof, and you also can have a lot of robust and aesthetics looks. So this is one of the building in Australia. And also we have this Phillip Island, the Penguin Island in Australia. So I like to share this project because this project construct in year 2002. So it's actually start operate in year 2000. It actually construct in year 2003. So it start to operate in January 2004. So what is the challenge for this building? So this building, when we start to talk to owner, we share from our Australian colleagues. So when they start to actually talk to the owner for this building design, so the building owner has a strong sustainability goals, and it has to be designed and constructed in a very small carbon footprints. So you can see from the landscape, all the building is actually in a different level. Okay, so some are high, some are low because of the landscape. They don't want to spoil the landscape, they want to remain the same landscape. So that's why the building is very balanced. The police signs are all different. And also don't forget about the extreme environment because that area is actually very cold. And people who work there, they actually have to wear winter clothes to do the installations. And also because of sustainability, the owner wants to have 650 solar panels on top of this roof. And also they are actually given us a very short completion target because they actually have to go ahead before the penguin breeding season. So that's why they are very challenged. So then they also give us a very short time for the installation because they don't want to disturb the daily works for this penguin shelter. Yeah, so this is a very good project reference when it comes to sustainability. So if let's say you have a child, please pay a visit. It's really a nice building and it's really very challenged. I think we only give time for like 1 year to complete the whole entire things from scratch to buildings. Not functioning. So this is also one of the project in Australia. So you can see it's actually very classic to contemporary. Then we also have some projects reference. All these are actually from Australia and some actually from Malaysia. So comes to design, metal roofing can do everything. So Hamptons, Queenslander, Heritage, contemporary farmhouse and even kampong house nowadays also they opt for metal roofing. So why is metal roofing? Because metal roofing is actually durability against weather. It can stand in very strong weather. So yet, just now I do mention that all these steps are actually very important to make sure that your metal cladding is actually sustained to the designs that it needs. And also no rot or wax, just like other materials. And also pest resistant, we don't worry about termites. And also because of 100% concealed, so you don't worry that your buildings have any birds or whatever pests that fly in and build their nest there. And also, again, that I mentioned just now, to reduce maintenance, you don't need to climb out to wash your roof so often. And yet, so you don't come to surprise when I put animals here, because we do come across that where we visit to like those Terengganu, Pantai areas, we can really hurt the people or the residents. This told us that maybe there's a lot of monkey on top my roof. So they try to peel everything or actually scratch my roof, this and that. So you really see these photos like how the animals spoil your roof. But comes to metal cladding, then you will have all this hassle. You don't have any animals problem because no matter how they scratch, your roof is still looks good. And also you don't have the plant issues. Where now my balcony, I do know house where it comes to the RC roof corner, always have new plants. They will grow by themselves, and they will grow very healthy. Yeah. So I don't know why. So I don't have green fingers. So the plants that I really plant on my side it doesn't grow, but I don't know why those from the RC's and not stick they can grow very healthy. Okay. So yes, we don't have all these issues. Then we also can minimize the theft issues. So yet come to metal roofing again. So in markets, generally we have the metal roofing in conceal fix, come with a clip system. We have the standard zinc methods that come in the seam and hose method, and also in Lysat, right, all our metal cladding, we have this anti-category growth design. So later, Mr. Liu will actually explain more in these products that how is the product being designed to have this anti-category. So what is the importance to have this into a metal roof design? Okay, so terms against that once you choose the right profile, don't forget about the material itself. Because actually you don't want to design a hospital and design a police station in roof, but 5 years down the road the police station become quite roof. Okay, this is some of the example. And also comes to cost and warranty advantage. So in the long-term finance benefit, lowest maintenance, energy saving, and also extended durability. Yeah, so having a product warranty to your building is actually very important. So you look at these pictures, right? You can come to real life, right? Metal roofing always giving the highest warranty compared with the others. Yeah, why? Right, because the metal roofing not only to protect the life under the building, it also protect your property. So I think last year I had a chance to attend one of the discussion from RISM. And she's talking about metal roofing dispute. So why dispute? Because they say the owners have a very expensive machines under the buildings. Then suddenly from the roof that one drop water pop go into the machine. Then they have to stop the whole entire production to figure out and to repair the machine before they start production. So it actually causes a lot of downtimes. So that's why I say metal roofing design is actually very important because it's not only protect your life but it's also protect your properties. Yeah, and it also protects a lot of dispute that come later on your building design. Okay, so again, reflective quality. Insulation advantage, we'll talk about a bit U value later, and innovative core technologies will come together with the U value as well. So we'll touch that a bit. So to compare metal roofing compare with the RC roof tiles examples. So comes to RC or comes to metal. Metals have a low thermal mass, meaning it's actually heat up and cool down very relatively quickly. So if let's say morning, you have a temperature at like 40 outdoor, yes, it will actually capture 40 degrees. But at the same time, when it comes to night time after 6, after the sunset, then you have a temperature at like 28. Then your metal cooling will get from 40 to 28. Whereas let's say come for concrete and clay, so they actually higher thermal mass. They actually absorb heat slower, but they also release the heat slower. So in another word, let's say in the morning they have a temperature at 40, right? So by the night time after you finish your work, then you go home. You're still hot in the concrete house because they still haven't released the heat. Because they actually take the heat slower, but they also release the heat slower. Yeah, so in another words, when it comes to concrete or comes to clay, right, it probably needs more aircon consumptions compared with metal roofing. So of course, don't forget that when it comes to metal roofing, where let's say your customer have an idea, she want to install a solar panel after 5 years time of the building, then there's no problem because all our metal cladding are actually solar ready. Means for EPCC, right, they have a special clip to direct clips on our rigs. Then they can install it immediately. Okay, again, it comes to smaller carbon footprints, transportation. So for metal cladding or metal roof or metal materials, it's easy to us to send to a more like this type of environment area where the trucks only can fit in one way or uh, very small roads for you to access to the construction site. So yet metal roofing can do that because two I mentioned just now, we are actually lighter weight than others in lots of materials. And also comes to thermal protection. So thermal protection, yes, in Malaysia we are governed under the UBBL 38 days. So we have this U value calculations. So what is U value about? So of course, the higher the R value, the better. So R value is actually like your architect piece. That's right. So the higher the better. So comes to U value is more like your health. We are talking about, let's say, cholesterol. The lower, the better. So comes to material selection. The material have the higher R value are the better. But coming in the whole entire system, the U value, the lower, the better. So this is actually some of the example. So you look at this example. So we have, of course, metal roof we don't contribute to any R value. But yes, come to metal roofing, we really rely on the whole entire roof system. So let's say we have a 10 thick cement board, aluminium foils, then we have air gap. So people always say that, hey, really, use air gap lah, air gap is free mah. Right? So why don't you use your air gap to generate the U value that I want so that I can help my client to save costs? So this is the system come up. But anyone realize what something wrong with this proposal? Yet it meets U value, but it's something not right here. Anyone can tell? So, okay, for this system, right, we probably need a Z spacer here. So we need a Z spacer here to generate the air gap. Okay, so when it comes to aluminium foil, right, aluminium foil is actually standard MS2095. It itself don't have any R value, but yes, she actually play as a reflective insulation role. So means wherever I have the aluminium foil, right, I need to have an enclosed air gap to play the roles and come up with the value. So all this is actually you can have it, or you can have all this data in the UBBL RSI guidebook. So if you need a copy, you can get from us, we have it. Or if you want it also, you can download very easily from the website. Okay, so the problem for this system is like there's nothing to hold the insulation. So you have the rod here, but you have nothing to hold here. So when it comes to tables, come to data, yes, this is a perfect system. But when it comes to installation, then the contractor will say this is actually a failed system. Because there's nothing under the roof to hold the roof. So means the roof will actually deteriorate and fall on top of the ceiling. Let's say you have a ceiling. If let's say you don't have ceiling, then once the roof will actually fall by gravity, then the roof actually fall to your buildings. Okay, so the best is also then we will actually, so when it comes to my proposal, I will actually take out the aluminium foil and the air gap, and I will actually move the aluminium foil to underneath of this rod wall. Yet, but I still meet the requirement. Yeah. So back to this slide, right? So yeah, air gap is always good, but you need a lot of more structure, or you need something, or you need slack spacer, or even top head to actually create a gap. But whereas this is actually you don't have gap, but you just change the foil under the wood and you just change the wood thickness slightly higher, you will still meet the numbers here. So unless you have a special requirement like what we recently worked in UK, then they have a very special requirements that they say UK standard must meet at U value 0.15. Then the one different story lah. So you know that when it comes to Malaysia standard, just to meet a very minimum 0.4, then probably this will be the proposal. This will be the proposal. Okay, so yet if you ask me whether do you need this cement board or not, cement board is actually option. So cement board is actually play a very good role if let's say you require STC. Because when it comes to STC, right, you need a very high dense material, so it give you the STC number. Okay. So if let's say for this entire system, if let's say I don't have this cement block, it probably give you a STC 21 or 20 plus. But with this cement block, right, you will actually straight away increase to STC about 30 plus. Yeah. And also depends on the cement block thickness. Okay, so back comes to this topic again, right? So recently we also encountered that a lot of patient asked that when I just want a residential development, let's say 500 units of residential, I just want to have my mother on the carport. Do I still need the system? Or I just need a single scheme? If you say you ask for my proposal, the best is to have the system, to have the installation. Why? Because normally when it comes to carport design, right, it's actually double story. So when it comes to double story, normally the second floor is actually your master room. So if let's say you don't have insulation on your master roofing, right, then you will heard a lot of happening sound. Then your master room will be very noisy. Yeah. So somehow you will still need some minimum insulation. Of course, maybe you don't think about the heat under because you think that carport, I just stop my car. I don't really need a lot of activity under the carport, so I probably don't need any heat or I don't need any U value. But yeah, I would actually recommend to go with very minimum insulation because it can reduce the tapping sound. Because you don't want like the owner complain like at night I cannot sleep there because raining very heavy, then I keep on hearing the raining sound. Yeah, but still it is good to have. And also depends on your master room design. Some, if let's say you have balconies, you have like long windows or big piece of window, then probably you really need that. And also don't forget about the color selection. Because when you stand on your window, you don't want your metal roof color to blend to your room. Right. So matte finish or Momo is actually the best option for you. Okay, so this is an example. Of course, there's a lot of benefit of cold roofing. So, yet what I mentioned just now, the benefit cold roofing is actually really just to reduce your aircon cost. Where let's say you use less aircon, then you have less maintenance. This is also a cost saving, and also actually helps a lot of carbon footprints. And the more of the cool roof you have, right, is actually extending the roof system life also because it can decrease the thermal expansion and also the contraction. Okay, so in summary, so overall of metal roofing, is it a sustainability choice? Then you all decide because after the long talk. Yeah. So in the conclusion that it's actually durability and aesthetics. So the strength and the strength and resistance to natural elements, and also cost effective in maintenance, energy efficiency, smaller carbon footprint, and so on. Okay, so this is the summary. But yes, come to metal roofing in sustainability, but also don't forget about safety. So comes to metal roofing, we also always don't forget about fire protection. So if today you all have bought the UPL fire protection mixed goods, then this is actually part of it. So in Malaysia's regulations, I think in year 2019, that's during COVID time. So Burma come out a new regulation of BSA 414. So all the roof, all the cladding above 80 meters, then they have to go through this test. Yeah. So yet our standard trim deck Hisham Terminal already certified with all these BSA 414. So if you have interested to understand more what is about A414, how to comply this A414, what would be the additional cost to go with this A414, feel free to talk to us. And of course, all our product naturally we actually comply to BS 476, Part 6 and 7, Class 4. Okay, so comes to metal cladding, we are actually weather resistant, fire resistant, and also pest resistant. And the conclusion is they offer advantage of being complete recycle. It's like steel is actually 100% recycled. So today you have, let's say example, you have a 10 tons of metal cladding on site that you're going to demolish the building. So this 10 tons is actually 100% recycled by not losing its property. Yeah. So in another way, so because of the properties of the steel content, right, it recycle and recycle and recycle. So it's the resources of tomorrow because it's going to be continuous recycle. After you use it continuous to recycle, no matter how many times it recycles, it will still be used. So it's actually in the long term, it can be seen as a materials bank. So not only that, just now a conclusion from the summary from my talks. Others that sustainability, it also drives styles and colors. So it comes to material selection, metal cladding can have in a lot of colors. And you also customize to a lot of shapes according to your design, your ideas. And also we have some materials in texture finish. So this is also thanks for the innovations and the R&D. So now it's not only the traditional screw fits after that, yet we have more and more options. And also in conclusion, metal cladding is always a good choice for sustainability. Okay, so any questions after all this? So do I convince you all using metal roofing? No? Yes? Okay, so probably maybe we can keep the Q&A session later after Mr. Liu. Then we can answer the questions. Or if you, let's say you feel shy, you want to ask now, then probably you can ask me personally later. Okay, so we have break. So thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so thank you, Ms. Vanessa. So I think maybe some of you might have some questions.
Another 1 more hour. So hopefully I will make it as informative as possible. Spending next 1 hour. Yeah. Okay. My name is Lee Kian Hong. I'm the Specifications and Product Development Manager of NS BlueScope Lysaght Malaysia. So I also share a little bit of my background. I have been working close to 20 years, and I have joined BlueScope before, and I left, and I went out. So, however, if I all kumpul, right, at least with BlueScope, I'm also more than 10 years now. So I have been working in different industrial and mostly construction materials. So I have looked at also different, such as like I can explain some of the like concrete cement. I can explain a little bit on, let's say, in terms of PVC pipe, in terms of M&E. Of course, I can explain that in terms of steel. So you can call me a jack of all trades. I like the word multidiscipline, but of course some people call me 我江山. But however, let me look at things in a different perspective in terms of different business and different business models. There will be a different customer requirement, different market segment, different pricing strategies. But today, of course, I'm going to explain a little bit more about steel products. Like today's topic in today's seminar, we use a bit of the Changge words of the renaissance of metal cladding in green construction because there's two elements in it. Because the renaissance meaning the revival of something interesting. So that's why we take the opportunity to explain how you can specify sustainability, of course using metal cladding solution. And today's my topic will be how do you specify performance in terms of metal cladding solution as well. Metal roof and wall products performance. In a very stereotyping, whenever we talk about metal sheets, right, this will come into our minds. So very common in Malaysia, in some of the so-called new village, old area, even in Penang, in our hometown people, of course in Penang, and in KL we found about this. So, what is the impression of metal roofing? People will say that metal sheet is a commodity product, so there's no differences. People also say that all material are the same. They are so-called galvanized products, zinc coatings. They're also saying that it cannot be used any creative creative ways. Boom boom maksudnya boom boom, atak means atak, so it's always go on top. And it's so common, probably saying that it's not specialized engineering products. They also saying that there's no specialized performance because I only use it for the roof. So as long as the rain don't come down on top of my head, it's already good enough. So these are the typical stereotypes whenever we talk about metal roofing. However, what I'm trying to say more is, I want to talk about product performance because I'm not the sales. However, I'm just using this example. For example, in terms of car, right? The moment you talk about BMW, you straight away think about performance. You talk about not only performance, you talk about the comfort, you're talking about the design and so on. So that is basically about the product performance. I also want to elaborate a little bit more, like just now I'm talking about metal roofings, right? Whenever people talk about metal roofing, they're not everything the same. There will be one thickness, there will be one width, there will always one design, and I say there's nothing special about it. But later on, I will explain a bit more. Just like if I give you an example, for those people who do not appreciate coffee, right? Coffee means coffee. But for those who appreciate coffee, then you know that there's a lot of knowledge behind so-called performance. It depends on where the beans come from. It depends on how you cultivate the bean. They were saying that if the bean near fruit trees, you tend to have a fruity taste. If you're near the sea, you tend to have the acidic taste and so on. They were saying that espresso, after you make espresso, within the 15 seconds, you have to quickly sip it, otherwise it will turn sour. And how you brew it, how do you ground it. So all these little details is very important in terms of the so-called coffee performance. Now, coffee, semua orang boleh pakai, but I can't help it. I would also like to share something. Sorry, I'm not halal. Let's talk about wine. I believe there's a lot of wine lovers as well. For those who do not understand wine, you will say that wine means wine. There's only wine. For some of you, it's an alcohol. That's about it. But for those wine lovers, you know, no. There's a lot of story behind. For example, you have to know what is the year you harvest the grapes, how long you fermented, how do you do it, and etc. That make the final wines. And then along the way, you have to have the decantations, you have to pour it, go through your mouth, test it out, and so on. Again, there's a lot of performance related. So, what I'm going to say is, I want to break away the stereotype of metal roofing is not sexy, it's just a piece of steel metal. But no, there's a lot of performance, a lot of engineering, a lot of science inside. That's why any of these given a definition to so-called to define a functional aspect of the product. In this case, there are two main categories of the product functionality of a steel roof. We need to talk about the material. Just like to make a good coffee bean is very important. Subsequently, how you do it and other important things. Similarly, for cars, right, it's also applied. So in this case, material is number one thing, the durability of the material, because it's basically influencing on the performance itself. The second thing will be the reliability of the product. So you must have the material right. Then after you make it a metal roofing, how reliable is that? So in terms of material, there are a few contexts of it. For example, first, the material itself must be corrosion resistant, very good. So superior corrosion resistant, because I don't want my roof after so many years it start to corrode, the lubang, so I don't want that. Second thing, in terms of the material, we're also talking about excellent color performance, because of course you can choose to have the very bare, no color coating, just like a typical galvanized roof back in the kampung time. However, just now as you can share, as when we share some of the project reference, right, architect can use different color to express their design. That's why color also play a very important. So you do not want your design after a few years it's also start fading away or start peeling away. That's why color performance is also very important in terms of material. That it will be able to withstand the test of time in terms of the primer. You don't want it to peel off so easily. As well, we also have Thermatec technology, which also Ms. Mandy mentioned about today's. Some of the concept is having a high solar reflective index, and it's part of the sustainability drive. And of course, in BlueScope ColorBond product, there is a clean technology, at least for the next 5 years, we have to worry about the tropical staining. And lastly, is in terms of the product assurance and traceability. They are made in Malaysia, so anything you can always trace back to the own manufacturing here rather than, for example, some of the import new product. If you have any problem, you do not know who to look for. So this is on the material. Once this material has rolled formed into a roofing sheets, right? So in terms of the reliability product, there are a few aspects of it. One is talking about wind uplifting capability, which just now Ms. Wendy also mentioned about that. Because with the global warming, etc., they start to, the weather start to behave differently. Malaysia don't have twister, but as far as you remember the news, right? Twister start to appear, tornadoes start to appear in Kedah, in NUS. Of course, then foot traffic capability. Make sure it can withstand the load. And of course, very important feature, rainwater drainage capability. Next one will be flexibility, depends on the design. Like just now, the Hunt study on such a challenging design of the circular shapes, right? You're able to have the flexibility to do that. And of course, well protected from weather ingress and impact load. You never know, something heavy might drop onto it. Like last year, there's so many tree drops onto cars, onto the roof of houses. And lastly, in terms of system integration ability, because nowadays you have to plan for near future, because you never know, few years later you want to have solar panels, you want to have a green roof, etc., etc. So these are all the, in terms of the materials, durability, and also the metal roofing, the reliability. And of course, not to mention, also just now, during with some discussion with some fellow architects here, there's also talking about sound insulations and also insulation performance, and this one of course happening every day in your design. So let me zoom in a little bit on the end product performance. So based on just now the reliability of the product has 6 reliability points, let me talk about roughly one by one. Let me start with this rainwater drainage capability. If you remember back in the good old days of those so-called corrugated apart roof, right? They're practically no specific design. The rib is always standard, high, and you go to any hardware shop, they all look the same. And then when you design, depends on the roof pitch. No specific reason. It depends on what I can afford, what I cannot afford, and then I just make my house. So this was in the past. However, what I'm trying to say here, actually, metal roofing in terms of this taking care of the rainwater, right? A very important role. It all depends on the design. So there will be roof profile related, there will be slope of the roof, there will be rainfall intensity. So there's some science and engineering behind. That's why hopefully after explaining that, right, whenever you look at a piece of metal roofing, right, certainly a lot of things start to indicate all this. For example, just to share, there are indeed a calculation of the rainfall. Of course, today you don't have to remember all this formula, but just for sharing, as you can see, there are some calculations, and then you have to look at the variables. Right? They're talking about the width, they're talking about the catchment area, they're talking about rainfall intensity, they're talking about the length of the catchment area, roof pitch, roof module, and cross-sectional area. So there are some science and calculation behind. So it's just not something that, oh, what's saja lah. No. And for example, as you can see the pictures here, as you can see, this is how much you can capture the area or in terms of the rainwater. And don't forget, you do not expect it to be filled up because it will be some side lapping. So your side lapping also indicate where the water can sit inside. And then when you side lapping, you also have a capillary impact. If you remember, science was the capillary impact. That means if there's any narrow gap, right, the water will sit in like a straw impact. So at all this side lap, if you don't design properly, they can always sit in and then come out on the other side and straight into your whatever insulation. If you don't have insulation, it will come down. That's why, if you notice, today when you go back and see any metal roofing on the project site, right, you're trying to find this anti-capillary feature. In most of the metal roofing today, especially like some product, every single piece on one side of the end-latch, right, there will be a slight anti-capillary. That means they will have a bit of wider space so that when the capillary effect come in, you just stop there, you will not continue to be sucking. So, I mentioned, for a piece of metal roofing, there are indeed a lot of science and technology behind. So whenever we talk about science and technology, we talk about AI, we talk about 5G. A piece of metal roofing also has their own portion of science and technology, just that it has been not paying much attention. So I'm taking this opportunity to use the word renaissance because it's so-called awakening, share something interesting. So come back from here, as you can see, there's some calculations here and there, and eventually, of course, fellow engineers that can help you on that. Then, to make some differences, right, as you can see here, again, there are many types of roof. There are different roofs have different application, different design. Like illustrated here, there are a corrugated product, which we have seen widely. We also have a so-called wise pen product. That means that we have a wider pen. Like one of the sample we show outside, there's a 360 seam. Just now, Ms. Maggie also showed that there is a seam that is like a cutter and so on, so-called a wider span. Because of a wider span, right, if you can see, if you base on that 3-degree roof and 150 millimeter per hour rainfall, right, the corrugated product with an anti-capillary roof, the maximum roof length is saying that about 55. So it's about 55 only. If I compare to item number 1 and number 2, if you are without a capillary, you'll be shorter. That means by what it means is after 12 meter, right, you better quickly let so-called flow up more your water. Otherwise, the water will go. If you have capillary impact, you can have a wider span, 55 meter. So that 55 meter, you don't have to worry about water seeping through. So as you can see, without a capillary roof, it will seep in about 12 meters, so-called calculations. If you have an anti-capillary, about 55. But if you have a wide span, you can go even further. Because the water, you are practically like a little cutter, like which is how I say. So it can flow. But again, without a capillary and anti-capillary, of course, it will have a different performance. So in another word, if I have a wide span, looks like a cutter type of roof, which is a wide span, with an anti-capillary, I can even design up to 300 plus meter. For the idea, so that is what it is. See, the performance between this and that, they're talking about 5 times, about 3 times. So hints come into the picture is, so this is just to continuations. As you can see over here, if I take 150, a roof slope of 3 degrees, and this is based on just now the Y span, it's take about 392. So for Lysaght product, right, we have all this tested in just now what Ms. Maggie said in data. That's why we have all this data to support us. Rather than it's like, don't know, you just pass saja lah. So it's not like that. So if anybody want to design properly, we can actually have this data to support you. So meaning, of course, if you have any question, you can always come back to Lysaght personnel saying that, hey, I have this project, I have this requirement. What type of roof you would like to recommend? We will like just now also like Ms. Maggie said, you ask the question, is it for commercial, is it for industry? If it's a commercial, probably we will go for something which is more common. If you are, let's say, an iconic building, maybe we recommend something much more for your design and so on. So it does not mean that one roof will apply all applications. So this is based on just now on the rainfall capability. So I move into another second interesting topic about the reliability of metal roof in terms of flexibility. In this term is basically the spring curve in terms of how you want to curve it. Of course, in terms of making a metal sheets to curve it, you can pre-curve it in a factory. You can pre-curve it like the normal bus stop. And of course, there are sometimes also natural curving, depends how long you are. And some product can, of course, some product cannot. So when we talk about the performance, right? Okay, just now imagine I want to test my BMW, so I do a crash test dummy kind of thingy, right? So we also did something similar back in when we first launched any roofing sheets. For example, the failure mode can be installation difficulty, it cannot bend, cannot curve. There are also a bit of oil canning issue. If you're familiar with oil canning, if you have a wider span, right, it's a natural phenomenon of all this so-called oil canning. It's not a defect, it's just a natural phenomenon. It's just like if you want to lay a long piece of cloth on the floor, right, you may not expect the piece of cloth to reflect. Some area you will tend to have some wrinkle here and there. So this similarly, imagine it's like when you have a wider span, there is some wrinkle. So it's a matter of whether it looks really bad or looks reasonable, acceptable. Of course, water forming. So how did they do the test? Just to share some of the ideas. Like first thing first, they install 0.42 BMT onto the test rig. Then they try to spring curve it based on certain radius. Then check the product performance. Can, cannot. Let's say if can, okay, let's say pass. And let me try something smaller radius. Try until it cannot. And then it's where we capture it. Oh, okay, that means it can go so far, it cannot go so far. Then we will try something thicker, repeat the same process, and so on and so on, and eventually, then we have a better understanding. Okay, then my metal roofing, how much I can do. So it's the same concept of a car. For a crash test, we all understand that, right? That means they will crash the car, front impact, back impact, roll over, and so on, and then they check everything. Then say, oh, my car is not safe because I have established. So similarly, we also do the same. I'm saying like oil canning, like from design point of view, is it acceptable? We have situations where, in overseas, obviously, in this case, the owner and the design say, this is what I want. However, for Malaysia, we think that, oh my God, this is a defect, but in fact, it's not a defect. It's just a natural oil canning, and of course, there are many factors that can affect it. For example, support alignments, color selections. The darker it is, or the lighter it is, it will be easier. The darker one will be more obvious. Light one will be less. Surface reflectivity, orientation of surface. I'm saying the support alignment is also important because if you tend to have, it's just like if my spacing is a bit more closer, right, and I tied it probably more firmly, it will be less, and so on and so on. So this is in terms of. So after that, then they will recommend what kind of radius, what kind of purlin spacing will be available. Again, this is straight come from our brochures. Okay. Then talk about well protected from water ingress and impact load. It's basically if you resist on the end lab, we're also talking about impact test because if you read our brochure, we have actually tested based on the wind lifting in a non-cyclonic area. And in Australia standard, they actually define their cyclonic area and also a non-cyclonic area. Of course, this part of the region is non-cyclonic. That's why they have went through all this testing as well. Like, they will do a test similar to this, they will do a test similar to that. So obviously, they are purposely like shooting a hammer, shooting a baseball, and so on, and see how the signal is like. I also want to share something question. So there are people also saying that, oh, in that case, can I do this your product? Do I need to do any testing this in, let's say, Malaysia CV? You are not required because this is just basically some testing, not based on one variable. They are testing it with different variable, different thickness, different length, different material, different steel grade, really for research and development purposes so that we have data. Because if you want to send for CV, right, you cannot afford to do everything. So this is for R&D purposes. And I suspect CV probably also do have the capability to do that because if you approach CV for anything new, right, they will say that you will have to go through the test method, set up the right lab, set up the right equipment, only that testing can be commercialized. Okay, the 4 point about system integration ability. We are talking about future integrations with, say, greenery, solar panels, for a system, part and parcel of sustainability drive in order to minimize the carbon footprint. Because the green roof can reduce the other key items, impact also solar will be reducing the so-called electrical consumptions. Again, come back to the question about the reliability of product. As you can see, there are different types of design of a roof. To a certain extent, you will probably say that so all of them are the same, but again, they are not the same. Also, for example, there are on the far left, there is the boxing type, which is a sample sitting outside. That means that we have a wide stand, seam on the side. And typically, this one comes from a so-called double roof system. Down there, we also have just now what Wendy was describing a mini factor, seam bag. But this one is a structural seam. While they do the seaming method to connect on the side lab, there are additional ribs, 3 small ribs in the middle. So this one you can go for single seam, you don't have to double seam. But again, it depends on your design inspiration. If you want to have a clean slip of load, of course you will go for 360 seam. But if you want a little bit of so-called industrial design or a little bit of sludge kind of design, you can also go for the bottom one. Both are so-called standard seam. Then in the middle, then we have the very common so-called clip lock system, which is you install the clip and you install the lock and you clip on it. There are also another type of so-called concealed fixed wide stand, but obviously they are round, and of course on the so-called cap you can. And obviously these are the so-called trapezoidal and also so-called the screw fixing. This one you have to pass some screw. So imagine today you want to install something green. For example, recently I attended this RT5 in JB. Even now, say Sika, they also come up with some greenery on top of their video and roof. Of course, we also encourage that you can also install any greenery on top of metal roof because it's easier for you to manage. Because it will be very good for this type and also this type because you just put in between center. This one also not so bad. This one also okay. But if you use this one, it's a bit harder. Because they cannot fit in slightly. Of course, you will just stack it up. So in terms of the total thickness, obviously that 2 types is still nicely. This one you have to be a little bit up. So this is on the so-called future integrations of your green roof. But if let's say future integration in terms of say for a wrestler or solar, this one is okay, this one is okay, this one is okay, but this one not so okay. Why is that so? It's because this two is not okay. Because solar, based on the first 3, is because all this clip is now readily available in the market. Most of them are made of aluminium import from China. You talk to any solar EPCC, they say no problem, I can find it for you. So with that types, you can just clip on it easily because of the ribs design. The green one cannot is because as you can see, they don't really have place for you to green. Of course, obviously for this time and this time, they also don't have place to break. So the question is like, obviously, are you saying that unfortunately I already installed the roof based on the school time? So what can I do? Of course, the solar EPCC said that no worry because the market always has some solution. They still have some kind of clip suitable for everyone, but the fact is they have to fasten the clip onto the roof. Then it depends on the waterproofing, how good they are. And fasten it is to have some kind of seal and so on, just to minimize the so-called water leakage. But if you decided to choose the type that I mentioned, obviously you will have to worry about any leakages at all because they can fasten because it's a clip on top. So both options, the EPCC still can give you a solution. It's just that one definitely will be free. This one probably is that, okay, but I have no choice because my roof is already installed this way, so I still have to proceed because the owner said I will install it. Of course, another option is to re-roof it up, of course, the cost will be definitely higher. That's why this is what you meant in terms of the system integration capability. So when you design something, think a little bit more for the future now for that. Yes, in the market they are, but you have to fasten it. So imagine if I have 100 clips, each clip I have four fastener, so 4 times 100, 400 holes. So I will be worried. Okay, another one is the topic about wind uplifting capability. I will share a little bit in terms of the strength and serviceability as well, what does it means. This basically can withstand the high pressures that could blow the roof away. In fact, if you remember right, we have been reading news about strange storm that blow away the roof. Like I mentioned just now, also tornadoes are here in Sabah. Even now, I never thought of Myanmar have an earthquake, and then it can affect all the way to Bangkok. Probably we can always feel the vibration a little bit whenever there's an earthquake in our country. So the weather has changed a lot. So, okay, based on Malaysia Standard 2500, just talk about in terms of some of the testing. The point one is Malaysia Standard mentioned that for calculation and testing, either a national regulation or MS can be used. Point number 2 is they were saying that all this calculation and test method is really referring to all those so-called screw type, like the trapezoidal profile and the sinusoidal profile. Apparently, for anything that beyond this kind of design, such as house, fixed, concealed fixed like block and also standing steel, they say this one based on the manufacturer, so that they really put any restriction on it. So in a way, for manufacturer, we are able to have our own design as long as we test it ourselves. So, like again, let me break down a little bit. That means for those based on certain testing and calculation based on certain standard. Whereas here, we can just carry out what we think is best. Again, talking about understanding, right? When we say itu paku cabut lah, like puah lah. So what's the big fuss of it? No. There's a different type of cabut. If you look at just now the illustrations, right? Like this one is like practically everything separated. The fastener, patah, and then the top piece and the bottom piece all set. I mean the so-called break away from the belly. Second type of cabut is the metal roof lifted away, but the fastener removed. The third one is the fastener stuck onto the belly, but the whole roof cabut. And the fourth one is, at least successfully withstand, but it's already connected. The last one is must be a tornado, that means everything already pull out like V-shape. So for some product, we even go into that extent. So come into MS25. MS2523, this one is on the foot test. Yeah, pressure back and forth. They were saying that it can be 0.1 open options if you are performing that based on MS2523, right? It can be pressure bag or vacuum chamber or uniform distributed vacuum, and so on and so on. And just a quick illustration when we talk about Malaysia Standard 2523, right? This series can do. That means if they want to do any on the road test, right, this is the so-called distributed equally and so on. So this one type of testing. But for our product, right, we not only because it's open options, right, we actually opt for pressure bag and vacuum chamber, which is based on Australia Standard 4040.2. So as you can see, the roofing and walling profile is tested according to that one using a pressure rate. Then the serviceability and strength has been recorded. Then based on certain calculation and so on, and then eventually we determine the so-called wind uplifting capability. And let me show you some of the pictures. This is in our product innovative center in Singapore where they did this one. They set up the one wind uplifting according to Australian standards. If you can see there will be a deflection gauge. See how much it can come off. This is a video. Now it's running. In so-called, as you can see, this how it works out. So imagine they put a pressure bag. They measure the pressure and see how much it can actually come off. So it's just it's a very short. It's just a good thing. So this is so-called how we check the wind uplifting. That's why if people say that, oh my piece of metal roofing can do so much, right? Does not mean you can actually do this test. In this case, what we are saying that if you buy our product, rest assured we have gone through this test, prove that it's okay. So based on just now some of the earlier testing, right? Try different thickness, try different length, try different pressure and so on. Eventually we develop this data, again readily available based on AS4002. Then the design engineer, they can design accordingly based on your needs. So today, fellow architects say that I want this profile. Engineer, please help me to check the wind uplifting. So based on the data saying that, okay, I have checked this one so that when you design this roof for your project, right, rest assured you don't have to worry about the wind blowing away up. Then there are also serviceability and also strength. Then what exactly does it mean later? I show you. So, okay, in terms of Malaysian standard, Australian standards, right? So Australian standard will be a little bit more, they are about the same, except that in terms of the maximum allowable deflection and serviceability stage, right? There's a little bit more demand for the Australian standard. So in other words, we are more stringent. And due to after we have collected all this data, then we actually have a summary report and say all this is done in NATA in Australia. So NATA actually stands for the National Association or something about testing. Okay. Oh, the serviceability I will go and show you. The last one is on the foot traffic capability because we tend to walk on it and so on and so on. So it's important to know how much load. I mentioned when you install a solar panel, when you install a water tank, you get additional load. So similarly, we're talking about Malaysia standard and saying that you can carry out here on MS2523, which is equal load distributions, or there's open options. So in terms of open option, we also again using 4040.2, we check the serviceability. So this is how we tested. So there's a low impact. And then they put a gauge. So in terms of serviceability, it will look like this. So they will press it down, see how much I need to apply, and then I release, which deflect back into the original state. So this is the core serviceability. That means you can do whatever you want without destroying it. So we have that data. In the meantime, we also have a destruction test. I will press until you put up. And release. So this one they do not deflect back into the origin state. I push it until it destroys. Just like I press that card on me. I purposely crush it. So that is where we measure the strength. For those are familiar with like steel material, like our mother company, steel, how they test color bonds. Basically, the dumbbell shape and some strength, they pull until it, actually they measure the elongations. That means they will check how long and how free the elongate until the only bahan breaks, right? That is the strength. So whenever you talk about a color bond of a G550 or 550 megapascal, basically that indicates the strength. The minimum requirement is 550 megapascal. So similarly for this serviceability and strength, so you have all these information. So again, if you compare some of the standards, right, again, some requirement will be again a little bit more stringent than the. Then coming to system requirement, Ms. Wendy just also mentioned about this, so I just quickly go through that. That's why in the past, when people talking about metal roofing, it's very hot. Metal roofing is very noisy. That is based on your datuk or nenek punya kampung house or your car porch extension that without any insulation, without any system. Today, metal roofing always comes with a system. If you come to us saying that what is your recommendation, we will not simply recommend just a piece of metal. We will actually also advise you in terms of the solution based on your requirement, in terms of your U value and SCC, in terms of your cost concern and so on, and we recommend you differently. So over here, for example, let me talk about some insulation performance, which some of the fellow architects over here, they are also a bit of interest. Probably Ms. Wendy mentioned. So in summary, right, we all mentioned in decibel, you're talking about anything 20 to 40 is like quiet, okay, anything 40 to 60 considered all the way, but anything higher than that, right, they are very, very deafening and loud. Then as you can see, the airborne sound, transmit sound, CC. So 40 to 60 decibel is considered moderate. For example, if you're talking about, just now talking about airport, you're talking about 800, for example, it can be. So these are so-called 100, which are very close to one. I try the file, but somehow it doesn't come out. In fact, actually, what we are trying to illustrate is after you go through SCC, it will be very quiet, but it's so quiet I can't even hear one. So I don't know if this is intentionally or a wrong file. But the important thing is SCC is basically whatever the angle minus off whatever your transmitter sound, right? That is where you get your SCC. So actually, if I go back to like just now the aeroplane noise is actually so-called 90 decibel. The expectation come out is 40 decibel. That's why 60 90 minus 40, you get 50 cc. Last time, you can only do this in the lab. For example, like when I check example, like I told you the Lysac is like since 1968, right? I check back some of the old file, we have to send to the CV just to say that screw up system is actually SCT. But today, they also have a software that can do simulation, which is quite reliable under the so-called INSO. We do have subtract INSO, so we can do a quick simulation. But of course, the accuracy of the simulation is dependent on your input, because the system, when you subtract, right, will be blank. So you have to put in your steel value, your insulation value, your air gap value, and so on. Only then you can come up with a so-called testable outcome. In terms of heat insulation, we already talked about U value, so I don't have to say much more. Ms. Wendy also shared the same. And again, in the past, you probably have to really test it, but of course today, we can have the different calculation based on, because today all the raw material they already published at K value and R value. So as long as they are published value, you can use it and do a simple calculation. So in shops, right, also in shops, right, in terms of yield value, because of the if you look at the calculation, actually one of the main influence is also the thickness. So obviously the thicker you are, the better of your yield value. But of course you cannot have a super thick because for example, if you are Kiasu, say so insulation material, I want artist, then too much too expensive. So far based on the calculation, normally you require at least 2 pieces. But again, I also have some argument which we constantly discuss with East Wendy, because if you are talking about residential, when we provide a yield calculation, we are only calculating exactly what it is. We are not factoring the air gap between your plaster ceiling and your system. Because you have no say on that. Because if due to the cost constraint, you are designed for a residential housing township, your air gap between your plaster ceiling and your system will be shorter. But if you are going for some semi-high-end bungalow, right, your air gap will be higher. So we are not factoring that. So if today I recommend a metal roof with a single block roof, if I argument for it, it is a fact that you will not need to do value, but you will factor in the rest of the things, right? Rest assured you can do that. So who do you need to talk to? Probably you need to talk to another consultant who are good in OTPE calculation. Because our yield value is just one small component of the overall OTPE, which is OTPE dependent to give for the architecture. So you can verify on that. Because the fact is, we talk about factory, right? Factory langsung tak ada cluster ceiling. But again, factory, we are talking about 3-story high and some of them 80 meters high. If I'm standing here, even though I have a single layer, I probably do not feel any heat. So there is also an argument as well. So these are some of the points of So basically, I just concluded. So this is the quickly recap is metal roofing is just not a piece of metal roofing. Metal roofing, I mentioned, I share a lot of things, right? There's a lot of science behind the way the design, the ribs so high, the way the design, the pan so wide, the way the design, and you must have a certain slope. And of course, today they can also combine together to give you a better system based on different insulation, use different aluminum, and think of the future integration, etc., etc. So, I believe some of our so-called competitors who claim that they have done the test, I cannot say they did not do it, but rest assured, if you, for Lysa product, you have all these factors out and give all the necessary testing requirements. So, to recap today's topic, hopefully from today onward, when you think about metal roofing, we can really need to sustainability. We are specifying sustainability using metal roofing, and also importantly, while we have a piece of sustainable construction material, they also have a performance, and we also specifying a high performance material. So basically, that's all. Are there any questions for both me and Ms. Wendy in terms of sustainable construction material in steel, roof, and also in terms of performance?
We invite Ms. Wendy up to stage for this Q&A session. So if you have any question about like yield value, or you currently have any project on hand, they need some consultation or issues, just speak up.
So what exactly is Kuru? Is it a concept? Is it a real product? Is it something they can see and touch and control?
Actually, Kuru comes with two methods. The first method is like, of course, it comes to material selection. So let's say come with metal deck. It's always come with first SRI, solar reflective index. So how able this paint or this coating able to reflect the sunlight? Just example that what I do mention also that, just example that today where you go for sport, you wear white, then you tend to reflect the heat, then you don't feel so hot. But today you wear a black shirt to a spot, then probably you will capture all the heat, then you yourself will feel very hot. So the first criteria when it comes to Kuru is of course come with the coating in terms of the color selection. So this is also very much related to the OTTV or the color selection that how you read the OTTV. Then second, of course, come with the whole entire system. Because once your metal roof capture the temperature, capture the heat, how he going to emanate this heat away? Then the system is very important. Then how's the rod wool, the wool, or either the aluminum foil play the roles in heat transmission? So that's the two key elements that have to be considered. It's very important in the cool roof.
Thank you, Ms. Wendy. Proprietary technology as well. They have, all the color bond have tested, right? We actually go to the actual exposure site across Australia, even in Malaysia, Kappa. When we started the factory in 1996, right? We actually have the same sample exposed until now close to 2026. So the paint thickness so far is by default, right? Well, now I'm starting telling you the quality data of the production data. They are actually controlling 25 microns, which we're proud to share with them. Of course, you can go for 30 micron, you can go for 45 micron because it's still very thin. It's just that not cost effective. I can go then can I go into like 50 micron, 10 micron? It may not achieve the performance demands. So our warranty in terms of color fading of 12 years is actually based on this 25.
Yeah, because if they say paint go too low micron, right, it probably will give you a protection. Because we understand that when it comes to particular there's coating, zinc aluminum to give the steel protection, but at the same time, a layer of paint also enhance the warranty or enhance the performance. So if go too low, then it's actually not works. But if let's say go too high, then you tend to have the risk to keep. Just example, like if let's say encounter that some metal roofing has start to got rusted, then the owner will get someone to come and paint on the roof, but it doesn't last. It probably just seem nice at one point in the year time. Then the second time, you will have the problem of that how it's going to peel off piece by piece. So in order to control the paint micron, right, from our R&D of Australia, is like 25 is always the best. It means not go too high cost, but yet it's actually sufficient to cover and give the steel protection.
Also sharing in terms of the lab test, right? Which if you have attended any BlueScope Steam event, today's if you just not see the video, they are talking about making a color bond, it's like making a cuisine. There's a lot of science behind. Because for example, the paint thickness, one of the test methods is that they will bend it. But the bend it is not for the sake of bending it. When they bend it, they will see whether the paint will crack or not. Because if you have too thick of a paint, when you bend it, it will crack. So the question is why do you test it with bend it? Because if your paint, you probably try to show your weakness by bending it to make the paint crack. Because we need to do that. Remember the lock seam profile. Because we have to bend the steel to form the seam. So if the paint is too thick, when you do the seaming, then it will start to crack and do all this. So they are all related. You're talking about the resin for the paint. As far as I know, it's a super polyester. And another thing is for the material itself, color bond, right? A lot of people is like when you produce a singular, when you do the paint, right? A lot of people probably have a general idea is like, just putting a paint in it, so which anybody can do. The thing is that one full package, because when they do the paint, they have to go through a full process. Full process meaning that they will apply, imagine 25 micron consistently for let's say 2,000 liter level product, and then they have to cure it under a 200, 300 temperature without having any effects on top, without scratching it, and then come out to apply whatever additional application before they come out with a complete color bond. So it's a one full package, it's not something that I think is still yes. So the testing is based on a whole full region just to testing whether this is what we have to do.
Okay, any more questions from the floor? No? Okay. Yeah, so during break, tea break just now, I collected a few questions that I think is important. Okay, so one of the questions is that can we get GPI point using method planning? Yeah, so can we get GPI point?
Yes, when it comes to GPI point, right, using method heading, of course, like what I mentioned just now, if you select the right color, so if let's say you go through the color brochure, any colors that we have in our brochure, there's an SRI value under the color. So the higher the SRIs, is actually will give you more points on GPI. This example, let's say we are talking about GPI 1 to 2 points, so you have to select the color where the SRI value is minimum 80 and above. So any colors that 80s and below, then you will get GPI point. Yeah. So this is the first criteria. Then the second criteria is also, of course, the U value. If let's say you're meeting the U value 0.4, then you have another GPI at 1 point. Of course, the lower U value you have, then you got more point. So let's say you go with U value 2.25, then you probably get 2 points. Yeah. So this is how the GPI calculate on this U value and colors. So we can say, let's say you want to really go for green or whatever, color is the easy points to get. As long as you choose the right color, then you just get 1 point.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lee. So another question would be, how do you recommend what type of method roofing to use? Maybe depends on the environment.
Okay, like just now I'm saying there are different type of design. Again, depends on your requirement. By default, if anybody come and approach us saying, hey, Mr. Lee, I want a piece of metal roof today. What would you recommend? Of course, at this point, I would recommend so-called chip lock system, which is chip and lock system. Basically, the reason is number one, it's a concealed fix, there's no fastening. So I install the chip and then installation also quite straightforward. So you only have to do your flashing and tapping properly. And also for chip lock, right, they do not have any end lamps. If you have, say, industrial project require a long stand, we can actually roll on the side, which also share this will be bigger. So imagine for a hanger, let's say it's a 50 meter, we can roll the piece of metal roof 50 meter without any roll. And on the side, because of the capillary impact and the way design should be completely sealed off. That's why at least for an area of meter square, you have to worry about the location. So by default, we say block system. Then when you start to go into a little bit more confusing, I want to express my design with cleaner design, or I just share one of the fellow architects is very much involved in so-called heritage building. Then you can go for the simple trapezoidal or sinusoidal. Even though you fasten it, does not mean that you have a leak. It just depends on the workmanship you have to do it carefully as well. So it depends on the requirement, and we can recommend accordingly.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Liu. So if you say you have any more questions, right, you can actually always reach out to LISAT. So we can help you to, you can touch about your current projects and any specifications, then we can help you with that. So now we will move to the next session before lunch. Okay, so we would like to invite architect Salina and also Dr. Law to present our conversation